The progressive revolution doesn't stop when the live show ends. Join the home of progressives and become a TYT member today. Click the link below.
There is a new report out by GLAAD. They did a survey and they found that there is a record number of LGBTQ plus characters on television right now. Here are the findings of this survey that's been around for 23 years, so it does have a history. They say overall, the survey found that 75 of 857 of broadcast regular characters, or 8.8%, are LGBTQ, topping last year's 6.4% and marking the highest percentage recorded since GLAAD began counting all broadcast series regulars. What do we think about that? That's a good thing for me.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's great. If we're gonna talk about diversity, then we're gonna talk about diversity, across the board. I love the fact that LGBTQ community is getting the representation they truly deserve. Have you guys seen the show Pose?
Oh, it's my favorite show. It's a
amazing.
trans soap opera.
It's so good.
people have been mentioning this. Which one is Pose?
It's Ryan Murphy. It's about the drag scene in
the
Harlem
80s.
in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the list from this survey as having the most transgender cast.
It is.
I think what's really exceptional about what they've done on that show is that I think a lot of these characters, it's great that they're gay, lesbian on TV. A lot of times they're played by straight actors. And so I'd like to see the numbers on who's actually playing these parts, because I know from the community I'm involved in, through my partner, my performing partner, that he loses a lot of roles to people who are straight who are playing gay. So I'd like to see the numbers on that. That's the next avenue,
CW has the world's, television's first transgender superhero, who is played by an actual transgender actor. Her name is Nicole Maines, who has actually won a Supreme Court case in 2014, a Maine Supreme Court case anyway. They gave people the right to use the bathroom of the gender with which they identify. So that was like, when they were doing the casting, they found someone who not only was transgender, but also like historically significant in winning new legal rights for people.
A superhero in real life.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's the first time that's actually happened, because to my knowledge, the people who play the Avengers aren't actually superheroes.
Right.
That's a pretty safe bet.
Is that a safe bet?
Yeah.
Can I just ask something? It's interesting, this whole LGBTQ and this trans conversation that we've been having in the US. But if you go to South Asia, in India and Pakistan, like, the third gender is recognized. I mean, it's accepted. We have newscasters that are third gender. It's totally acceptable. It's not something that's argued over. No one's saying, oh, you can't use the bathroom. So if South Asia can come forward and accept a third gender, we're the world leaders, for God's sake.
So they call it third gender.
They call it third gender. Yeah.
Interesting.
Which I think is also what the people who we eradicated from the States also had a third gender. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no.
Native Americans.
Native Americans.
Yeah.
Also
people
have...
who we stole land from.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it.
Also have a third gender. I think, people who aren't, white people are not chill. And so we can't be chill about anything. So that's a massive problem with accepting people who are different or, sit outside of what we're used to as, like, quote unquote normal.
Right, I saw some people that were responding, not necessarily to this, but to these kinds of stories about diversity in terms of LGBTQ representation, that cite, like, there are more people on television than there, as a percentage of the cast, than there are LGBTQ people as a percentage of population. So I looked it up. It said a record 4.5% of American adults identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender, according to a Gallup estimate. I think this was from like 2017. The percentage, which works out to more than 11 million adults, is up from 4.1% in 2016 and 3.5% in 2012, the year Gallup first started tracking the identification. And 8.2% of millennials identify as LGBTQ+, which, if it's 8.8% on the show, that is kind of in line with at least the target market for a lot of TV. But when people say, like, it's an exaggerated amount, how you should have it should be representative of the total number of people. My response to that is like, all right, well, if that's what we're doing, there's a way overrepresented doctors and lawyers in television.
Also, then I want to see 50% of the United States government women. If you're like, those people are only concerned about TV. They're not concerned about, like, putting those percentages in other areas of places we have to deal with. You know?
I also want to see 50% of the doctors played on and engineers played on television to be South Asian.
Right.
Because have you been to your hospital recently? There's a lot of brown people taking your blood, like a lot. Okay, and we're not vampires. We're just testing your blood. We're looking out for you. Okay, and the nurses, they always showed, you know, I mean, what was it in the Emmy Awards that we're talking about? How the nurses are never Filipino. Most of the nurses are Filipino. Let's give those jobs to the Filipino nurses.
Go
then.
out in the world.
Let's do the true representation.
Here's some more people that other findings of the study. CW praised for Jane the Virgin and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend in terms of which networks are doing highest representation. CW praised Jane the Virgin and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend led the way among broadcast networks, 16% of its characters. Fox was 11, NBC is 8, ABC 6, CBS with 5%. Other findings across all TV platforms, the number of bisexual characters reached 117, up from 93 a year earlier. GLAAD counted 26 transgender characters, 9 more than last year, and 7 characters who are HIV positive, up from 2. HIV positive thing, I feel like it continues a stigma, but I don't know.
You know who this is really important for are children watching these shows and seeing representations of themselves in media in a way that is positive and not, you know, cartoonish or stereotypical. I think it's going to be really revolutionary for, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds who catch a glimpse of what they could look like in the future, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing is that, you know, this percentage that you're talking about that's increasing, I mean, you also have to understand, like, there are people who are in, you know, deep red states who won't come out, you know, because of the stigma, because of,
or it's
you know,
unsafe.
because it's not safe for them. I mean, you know, we're not even counting those people that have not even come out of the closet, per se.
Right, and when I see like the study that I looked at that said over the years, it's a higher percent, I just can't see it being like, oh my God, people are getting gayer.
Right.
I feel like it's people of the LGBTQ community are feeling more comfortable.
Safer,
and,
exactly.
And it's to see that, it's like they're afraid to tell a pollster.
Yeah.
Like someone who calls anonymously and just says, we're just gonna come up with a percent number.
That's right.
They're afraid to say that.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.